Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and I have the pleasure to work on another reel that Scott found at the West Coast flea markets down in the Los Angeles area. This one is a unique one. This is an Ocean City reel. It's the Shore City with a capacity of 250 yards, which I believe makes that the Shore City 126. It also has a leather thumb guard for casting, but interestingly enough, this thumb guard is not from this reel. It reads Fluger, and Fluger was not associated with Ocean City. So, and it's interesting that you have the thumb guard on this reel because it has a star drag. The thumb guards were typically used for casting when you had a direct drive reel that backspooled on you, and you provided the drag by pressing down on the line, utilizing that leather pad for your thumb. So kind of an interesting thing. Also has a wooden handle on it, and the wooden handle knob generally is a good indication of when the reel was made. You'll mostly find a wooden knob on reels that were made before World War II. After World War II, the materials changed, and you started to see, well, Bakelite and plastic and other types of materials used for the knob, not so much wood. So when is this reel, and what's this reel about, and what are we going to do with this reel? Well, stay tuned. Before I get started, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you like fishing reels, if you like to learn how to repair them, if you like to learn a little bit about their histories and see how they're made. Well, that's the idea behind Second Chance. The idea is to give the reels second chances to go fishing again. And, well, yeah, we does a lot of things. We repair reels, service reels, or just kind of get some interest in the reels so that folks can understand them and take them fishing, give them a try. So this one, the Shore City, was introduced in 1935. Wow, almost 90 years ago, just short of 90 years ago. It sold originally, if this is the 126, it sold for $5.75, which was not inexpensive at the time. It was quite a reel, and we're going to take this apart mechanically. I understand that that there is a drag feature in here that I want to see. It's called a synchro mesh, and we'll learn a little bit as we go. Ocean City reels were made in Philadelphia. And, well, probably at this time, the founder of Penn was probably working for Ocean City before he decided to go out and found the Penn Fishing Reel Company. We started by taking off the handle nut, and there's a screw holding the bridge plate down. I'm not sure if we can just bring that off. There we can. And we'll take the star adjuster off as well. I like to remove all of the exterior pieces. This one's been cleaned. You can see that there's a lot of kind of brushed off whatever the corrosion was on the metal in that, and that's okay. And when I take the pieces and parts off, they go into a parts tray. There's a metal kind of washer underneath, and this is a good time to tell you, if you don't know the reel, you might want to start taking pictures so that if you take the reel apart and, well, you come up to putting it back together in the end, you kind of forget a little bit about where it might go with that. Well, the pictures are going to help you to identify the sequence and the positioning of those parts that you took off so that you can put them back together. There's a screw holding down the bridge plate here, I believe. I don't think this is just for an oil port. So I'm going to remove that while I have the reel in gear. And again, I take the pictures using a video camera, but you can use your cell phone, use a digital camera, heck, use film if you want. But whatever it is, you need the reference points in these reels. Okay, there's a series of screws holding cross posts and the reel seat on. And what I'm doing when I take these out is I'm just laying them side to side, because my experience with these reels is that some of the screws are shorter than other screws. You want to identify which ones those are so that you know where they go. In this case, the 3 screws that go in the reel seat, this is the reel seat, are shorter than the ones that go in the crossbars. So Scott has been upping his game. He's been finding very interesting reels, but they've also been high quality reels as well. And it's always a pleasure to work on the ones that he finds. Well, we have 3 longer screws, cross posts, and 3 shorter screws. One's still in there for the reel seat. We should be able to remove the plate now. Well, this was advertised as synchro mesh, and I'm not seeing the mesh feature in here. This is a standard release form for that pinion gear, so maybe it was the other model that was released in 1935 that had that synchro mesh, and I may have just been confused about that. Let's show you how to take it apart and service it. This is a button that releases the pinion gear from the spool shaft, and it does so because you'll pull this out just like that, and that will pull in and away from the spool to release that. A lot of folks, or some folks, make the mistake thinking this is a toggle switch that goes back and forth. That is not the case, and if you try to do that, you will break it. Okay, this is a 90-year-old reel. I'm just not sure that these screws are going to come out, but this one does. Here's a great place for your Kodak moment. Take a picture. That screw holds the jack in for your gear. Your gear is underneath, and there are 2 springs here. By all means, remove those springs as soon as you can. Don't let them bounce, because if they bounce, well, you may lose them. And if you need to, this piece will come out. We're going to just leave it there, but you can remove it. And so that's the trip lever, or the free spool lever, your jack, your main gear with a collar, and your tie down screws. So those are going to go into the basket. We'll come back and service those in a moment. There's 2 more screws that need to be removed to service the reel. Those are the bridge screws. I'm going to move up to a wider screwdriver. You want to match the blade of the screwdriver to the slot in the screw. If you try to put a thinner screwdriver in there and run into any kind of trouble, what's going to happen is the screw is going to butterfly, and eventually you won't be able to remove it. Again, I'm going to lay the 2 on the desk just to make sure it's habit that those screws are the same. Once I've done that, they go into my parts tray, and we can now remove the bridge. Notice on the back here that we have a flat spring that's going to be the spring for that anti-reverse dog. Okay, we want to clean this side plate. You want to be careful about that spring. I'm just going to use a penetrating oil as a degreaser. There's not much grease in here. It seems to all have evaporated over time. I couldn't say when the last time this reel was used. I did notice as we were taking it apart that it probably needs drag washers. So we'll find that a lot of the pen drag washers, even though they're separate companies, they're not related at all, other than the founder worked for Ocean City at one point. But I do find that pen washers seem to fit the Ocean City ones. Still leaving that piece in there. We're going to come over and we're going to remove what we can of the gear sleeve. And you can see there's an awful lot of old grease in that, which is why you want to remove that gear sleeve. I'm going to use the penetrating oil then to loosen up that grease. Set that to the side for a moment, come over and see what we can do about the gear sleeve and the drag washers. There is a hold fast in here, right here. I want to make sure that, I think this is removable. Oh, it's not removable, but there's going to be slots here. That should be removable. It's a keyway. There you go. Okay, there's a little keyway there that's going to go in the slot here inside the case. Just don't lose it. It's a very small piece. It's hard to see and easy to lose. Now we should be able to remove the main gear. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to clean this. This is pretty much devoid of grease. It just has a lot of tarnish on it. And let's go find out what's in here then from a drag stack standpoint. And use a little razor knife to kind of pull that up. We should have a series of drag washers and metals. And just be careful with these, just in case the pen ones don't work. First one's always the hardest one to get out. There we go. But we only have the, I think we only have the one washer. Nope, we have two. Okay, so these are hard washers, and they're in good condition. 90 years later. Well, they've probably been replaced somewhere along the line. They do not have grease on them because they're non-porous. We're going to leave the last one in the bottom. You have a wavy washer, which is your tension washer, and then this one goes up top. That's your drag stack. Easy enough. When you go to put that main gear back on, main gear goes on first. Grab a little grease here. Check the teeth. Make sure that the teeth are all in order and that there's no chips or cracks or broken pieces. That would be a poor performing reel if it was. I don't think you can get a replacement for this, so kind of out of luck if you have a broken gear. Okay, we're going to grab that little keyway now. There's a channel that rides in. Be careful. Again, this thing can knock out, and well, if it knocks out, you're in trouble. So this takes the place of an eared washer. And as I mentioned, there's a corresponding groove inside where that's going to fit. So that's locked in place now. You can't move this collar left or right because the keyway is holding it in place. This is the reason why the reel slowed down right here. It's got bad old greases in there. You can see it coming off since we've let the penetrating oil just sit there. And that's what you want to do when you're servicing this reel. You just want to make sure it's cleaned and cared for. We're going to reset the bridge. We need a little bit of grease onto that shaft. Wipe that shaft down first. Again, just tarnish on that. There's no corrosion or anything there. I'm going to put that shaft back on. Turn it. Make sure that it turns nice and easily. And we have our anti-reverse dog sitting on top of that and merging in. So it'll be interesting how this one seats. I haven't done this one before, so I guess it's a lesson learned for all of us. We're going to take our bridge now, put that in, bring it over, that's easy enough. And you can hear the anti-reverse just laying on top of it. Get the two big screws, line up your screw holes, get your wider screwdriver, and get them started. So what we thought might be bad drag washers are actually fine. The issue with this reel at the moment appears to be that it was just dirty. We'll see. Give it a try. I'm assuming that the other side's probably the same here, and we'll get that greased up too. All right, we're going to leave that on. That's not going to fall out anywhere. We know that now. We're going to put our trip lever back in. We're going to go to the box, get the two screws, springs, I don't want to call them screws. I call them screws all the time. Lay that down. Make sure that they get seated into that cavity. Don't lose them. I'm going to do the same thing here with the main gear. This one's got some dried grease on it. The other one didn't. I'm going to use a hard brush to pull through on the slots. I'm going to check them all, make sure that they're grease free. And we have our spool carrier, or gear carrier. I'm going to use fishing wheel grease for this. I'm using Penn Precision Wheel grease. Please use fishing wheel greases and oils. Don't use household products. They're not designed for fishing reel, and well, they'll just cause you poor performance, or you'll have to do it more frequently because it'll evaporate, or there's a whole bunch of reasons why. Simply invest a few dollars for the fishing wheel grease. You won't regret it. All right, we want to get a little bit of grease into the slot where that jack is going to go. Grab the jack, place that over the top. If you weren't paying attention before, this can go front or back. The back side does not have the slots in it on this carrier. Make sure that the slots are facing out. And load that in. Put that up and on. Center it over the stud here, and then press in so that you can start that screw that's going to hold the assembly together. This is pretty impressive technology for 1935. I have the wrong screw. This is the screw for the gear post. This is the screw for the trip lever. Tighten it all the way in. Then make sure, I don't think we're tight yet. There we go. Make sure that this is pulling in when you pull down. You can see how the collar moves off of that, and then moves flush, and then pulls away. Those 4 slots correspond with the 4 studs on the spool here. I'm going to remove the spool now. As I thought, the other side has got the same lack of greases and oils and a little bit of dirt. We'll use the same approach here. We're going to use the penetrating oil to clean that up. How sharp that click tongue still is after all of these years. That probably says that this reel hasn't been fished with the clicker on or the bait alarm on. Always nice to see something like that. A little bit of grease into the side plate bearing. Got a beautiful patina on that. There's a little bit of, oh, I think that's just tarnish. Okay, this can go back in. We can oil this click lever, click tongue. Spool goes on, side plate goes on. And I like to put it on just as I did here with the free spool release outside. So one of the things I did find out from doing this is that that synchro mesh feature on a 1935 Ocean City reel, that was the other one that was released, is not on this one. That synchro mesh always left the gears engaged, and it locked out the free spool release from tripping accidentally. Kind of fun facts. Ocean City was very innovative in a lot of the products that they designed. They were the first ones with mag brakes in their lineup, and they had worked with Vom Hoff And they worked on the star drags, and this is a star drag reel. And that was not that common in the 30s. They were still using those direct, what we would call knuckle buster reels, direct drives. And that's the leather patch there is a carryover from that type of reel. One more screw put into the side plate. And we'll put our handle back on. And we'll see how we did. Scott, thank you again for sending the reel in. It's pretty neat. I always like working on these pieces of history. There's 2 more tension washers there. Let's put the other screw back in before I forget about that one. That's another reason why I like to use the parts tray. It'll show you what's remaining. And if you see a part in there, well, that you weren't expecting to see in there, it means you probably forgot it. And you better go back and find out where it belongs. Put it back on the reel. Again, this has pretty much been buffed out. There's no right or wrong on that. If it's corroded or if it's showing greening or anything, you don't need the original patina. A lot of these reels were designed to go fishing, not to sit on a shelf. So. And this would be one of them. Even though it was a $5 reel at the time, and $5 was relatively expensive, there's no sense leaving one like this on the shelf. If you enjoy fishing, take it out. You can do the same thing that a modern reel can do, and why not enjoy it? I think Scott got started in all of this saying that there was a fishing club out in his area in Southern California that actually has tournaments where you fish the older reels. That sounds like a lot of fun. All right, we're tightened down on that. We're in free spool. So remove that for a moment and give that a spin. And just as I would expect, this is a little bit tight because we put some grease in there, but I love the way these old reels are just truly balanced. Look at that spool spin. You could cast this one probably a mile at the right weight. Look at that. This is beautiful. I'm going to put a little bit of oil into that stud that surrounds the handle. We're going to lock down your piece and then we're going to test it. The drags are holding, so that was a good observation. And the reel is turning beautifully. What more could you expect? Scott, another beauty all around. So that's it. That's the Shore City edition, right? Shore City, yep, Shore City, 1935 to 1942. It was discontinued when the war broke out and Ocean City got into production of war materials. It was never brought back after the war ended. So it had a short run, about 6 or 7 years, but it's a beautiful reel and a survivor nonetheless. So I hope you've enjoyed that. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do to keep us safe. Your efforts truly are appreciated. And to everybody, please stay safe, stay well. I wish you good luck fishing. Please stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.